Okay, 2.5 is the section where you can see where some of these set theory ideas can be applied in real life. And so one of them is using surveys. And so in a survey of musical taste, respondents were asked, do you listen to country music? Do you listen to rock music? And the survey results were summarized in the Venn diagram. So you want to fill in what you see in the Venn diagram. So based on the survey results, you want to be able to answer a series of questions. So first question being, how many respondents listen to country music? Okay, 75 is correct. Good. Where did you get those numbers, that number from?
Combine what was in the middle, that listened to both, and percent of country music.
Okay, good, because country music represents this entire circle, so you had to add the 55 and the 20 to know how many total people. And again, I didn't mention this, but you guys sort of, assume that this Venn diagram now represents cardinality. Each region shows the amount of people in each area. So in your notes, if you're going to forget where the numbers came from, feel free to write, 55 plus 20 equals 75. So feel free to write that down so you remember where those numbers came from. Okay, next question. How many respondents listen to rock music? Okay, 90, good, because this time you needed to add the 20 and the 70. So 20 plus 70 equals 90. Next question, how many respondents listen to country but not rock? 55, very good. Because this region right here is the region that's inside country but not inside the circle for rock. How many respondents listen to rock but not country? 70, good. So similarly to the last question, the 70 is inside the circle for rock, but not inside the circle for country. Okay, how many respondents listen to both country and rock music? 20 is correct, very good, because what was the key word in that problem? And. The key word written there was and. And remember that and is the same word as intersection, so what they have in common here. Okay, how many respondents listen to country or rock?
145.
Okay, so 145 is what I got, good. How did you get that?
All three.
Okay, so country or rock means everything in both those circles. Good. So 55 plus 20 plus 70. How many respondents listen to neither rock nor country? 30. Good. It's that number in the white space. And how many people were surveyed? 175. Very good. So what do you have to do if you're trying to figure out how many people are surveyed? Yeah, or add up all the numbers that you see in that Venn diagram. Good. So you already knew that the three inside were 145 plus that extra 30. Okay, so whenever you're solving survey problems, the first thing you want to do is use the survey's description to define your sets and draw a Venn diagram. Now that was already done for you in this problem. So you already had the Venn diagram set up. And then use the survey's results to determine the cardinality for each region in the Venn diagram. And again, that was already done for you. But remember, when you're trying to put in the amount of items in each region, you start with the intersection of the sets or the innermost region and work outward. And then step 3, use the completed Venn diagram to answer the problem's questions, just like you did in those last series of questions. Okay, next survey problem. In a poll, 1,000 U.S. adults were asked to agree or disagree with the following statement. And this is your entire fill-in-the-blank here, this whole line, this sentence. Canada is more important to the U.S. than Mexico. And then here are the results of the survey, which I think maybe some of those numbers are fill in the blanks for you as well. Okay, so somebody made a whole bunch of phone calls and said, tell me if you agree or disagree with this. Canada is more important to the U.S. than Mexico. 550 people agreed. And then they also found out some information about the people that they were talking to. They asked them, are you Hispanic or not Hispanic? So 50 Hispanic Americans agreed with the statement, and 250 Hispanics were surveyed. And then the rest of the people that weren't mentioned disagreed. Now, when you have to create the Venn diagram on your own, and this is something you want to make sure that you practice, because in Math Excel, all it gives you are the questions, and it doesn't give you the Venn diagram. So you have to do the Venn diagram on your scratch work in order to answer the questions. So you have to consider certain things that are opposites. You either agree or you disagree. Okay, those are opposite things. So you only need one circle to represent agreed, because anything outside of that circle would be the opposite of disagreeing. Okay, so you have to consider these things when you're making your Venn diagram. What are the opposites here? Okay, so I have gone ahead and labeled that the universal set, of course, is everybody who was surveyed. So we'll use the letter A for the people that agreed, and then the only other information that you had were that some people were Hispanic. So the letter H for the 250 Hispanics that were surveyed. So we have a circle for Hispanics for our H, and if you're not Hispanic, then you are outside that circle, right? So you're either Hispanic or you're not Hispanic. Okay, so how many circles do we need inside of our universal set? 2, because you need one for the A and one for the H. Okay, so if we're going to fill in our cardinality, where do we need to begin? In the middle. And so what does that yellow region represent? The Hispanics that agreed. Good. So what number belongs in there? 50, because there were 50 Hispanics that agreed. So now if I move to the blue region, you have to ask yourself, what does that region represent? Hispanics. The Hispanics that, I heard a couple different answers here. So the blue is the Hispanics that didn't agree, right, okay? So, and there's a couple ways you can look at it. You could say, okay, the rest of the Hispanics, I think somebody said, and that would be okay as well. So you have 50 that you've already accounted for, and you had 250 total. So this is where you have a series of subtractions now. So 250 minus 50 gives us 200. So we now have 200 left for that region. So now in the gray area, we're still inside what circle there? A, so those that agreed. We have accounted for how many? 50. How many people agreed altogether? 550. So what do we have to do here? Subtract. So 550 minus 50 then leaves us with 500. So we've got 500 in this region. So all of these, Venn diagrams where you're filling in cardinality, again, it's a series of subtraction. Have we finished the Venn diagram? No, what's left? Okay, or you could say the white space, okay, if you look at that. So what do I have to do to fill in that white space? Jason? Okay, so take 1,000 and subtract everything that's inside the circles. Good. So what's our total inside of the circles? 750, so we're subtracting 750, and that leaves us with 250. Okay, so this was step 2 of those steps that I gave you. Step 1 was just drawing the circles and the rectangle. Step 2, we just filled in all the cardinalities, or the amounts that belong in each circle. So now there's going to be some questions that follow, and on your handout you have those questions. So taking a look at this information, how many non-Hispanics agreed with the statement? 500 is correct, good, because the non-Hispanics would be those that are outside the circle for Hispanic, but you also wanted those that agreed, so they have to be inside the circle for agreeing. Okay, second question, how many non-Hispanics disagreed with the statement? How many? 250 is correct, good. Because that means they're not Hispanic, so they're outside that circle, and they disagreed, so they're not in the circle for agreed. So it's outside both circles, 250. How many Hispanics disagreed with the statement? Okay, 200. So the number that's inside the Hispanic circle, but not inside the circle for agreeing. So any questions there? So here is a Venn diagram that's already been created for you. It's got the cardinalities in there. They also put the regions in case it was easier for you to look at the region numerals as well. And so it wants you to figure out the number of elements in A or B. What's the key word there? Or. So that's the first thing I want you to look for, your key words. Okay, what's the key word in the sentence? Or. And so what does that tell you that you're looking for? The what? The union. Good. So the union means that we're looking for everything that's in A or B. Okay, so what numbers am I adding up? Okay, 13, 10, and 21 is correct in any order that you guys threw it at me. 44? Okay, so 44, fantastic. Okay, now you've got a three-set Venn diagram, and you're looking for how many elements belong to set B and set C, but not set A. All right, so if you were just looking for B and C, what region or what numbers would you be looking at? Say that again. So B and C would not be 472. Okay, that would be or. Okay, so B and C is the intersection. Okay, so it's just 5 and 7. But then it said, but not A, so which number am I going to eliminate from that? 5. Okay, so your only answer here is 7. So again, remember that and means intersection, only what they have in common, or where the circles overlap, and then eliminate anything they say but not. Okay, so 7, good job. And that's why we're going through these, because they are tough, they're tricky. You know, students have a hard time wrapping their mind around this stuff. Okay, how about this question here? Considering sets A, B, and C, how many elements belong to at least one of these sets? Okay, I heard 6. What keywords would you be looking at here? Well, A, B, considering A, B, and C, that's considering all of them. And that's not the key word that you're looking for. At least one. Okay, so these are other keywords that you're going to see. At least one, at most one, exactly one. These are some words that they're going to throw at you. So at least, what does at least one mean? So at least one means that it belongs to one or more sets. Okay, so at least one of them means that it belongs to one or more sets. So it could belong to only set A or only set B, or it can belong to A and B, because that's at least one of them, or A and C, or it could belong to all three of them. So at least one means that it's actually any of these numbers. Because again, at least one means one or more, that it's inside one or more of the sets. Now if it said at most one, then that means it can, at the greatest, it can belong to just one set or none of them. At most, one set or none of them. So think about what those words really mean. If it says which elements belong to exactly one set only, so that would be the 3, 4, and the 1. Okay, so it's, so you have to be really careful with the wording of the problem. So again, in this case, it's all of these, because it's at least one or more of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you have to add up all those numbers. Okay, so you're adding up all of those numbers, because and again, right here is where the problem tells you that this shows the cardinality of each region. So that means that's how many elements are in each area, and it wants to know how many elements total belong to at least one. So you're adding up all of those amounts. 38. Okay, I heard 38. Fantastic. Okay, so here's a similar question, but now it's actually applying real-world information to it. So a poll asked respondents if they agreed with the statement that colleges should reserve a certain number of scholarships exclusively for minorities and women. Hypothetical results of a poll are tabulated in the Venn diagram. How many respondents agreed with the statement? Okay, so you have a circle for the men that were asked, a circle for those that were African American, and a circle for those that agreed. And they want to know how many respondents agreed with the statement. Okay, and how'd you get 21? Okay, so add up everything that's in the agreed circle, because that's how many people agreed. So that gives you 21. Excellent. So let's take a look at a similar question. Same question that was posed. Do the respondents agree with the statement that colleges should reserve a certain number of scholarships for minority and women? But they've changed the results. Okay, they did another study somewhere else, let's say. So you have the same circles. This time they want to know the number of women that agreed with the statement. 8 is part of it. 6 and 8 is correct. Good, because here are the people that agreed. Okay, and notice that, yeah, question? Okay, good question. So how do you know which ones are women And remember, we talked about that concept of opposites. Okay, so there's a circle for what? There's a circle for men, and so the opposite of a man is a woman. So anything that's not inside the circle for man has to be the women. Well, let's not be that specific. So anything outside of African American would be not African American. So it could be Asian, it could be Hispanic, it could be, white. It could be anything. Anything that's not African American. Okay. So, so it's either you're African American or you're not. You're a man or you're not. You agreed or you didn't. Okay? And so, therefore, if all of these areas here, all these regions agreed, we have to eliminate the ones that are men, because that's in the circle for men. And anything we didn't eliminate has to be women, because they're not in the circle for men. Okay? Does that make sense? So now we're only adding up 8 and 6. And so what is 8 plus 6? 14, the easier question of the day. Okay, so 8 plus 6 is 14. Nice work. Here, I'll throw one more of these at you. Okay, same thing that they're asking, but they've changed all the numbers, and they decided to throw the region Roman numerals in there, okay, just to confuse things. So the number of women who are not African American that disagreed with the statement. I heard 7. Okay, so here's how you can work this out if you need to. If you want to write this on your scratch paper, you could say, okay, they're women, so I'm not going to include the circle for men. So I'm going to eliminate all of that. They're not African American, so I don't want to include anything from the circle that's African American. And then it says that they disagreed. Well, I've only got 2 numbers left. One of the numbers is for those that agreed, and the other one, if that's agreed, I want disagreed. I don't want that number, so it leaves me with 7. So that's another way you can look at it too, is you can eliminate the ones you know you don't want, and so that leaves you with the number 7.
See, that's when in the previous question I was talking about the numbers in the universal column. I wasn't talking about the one in the circle.
Okay, so if we go back to the previous question.
Because since it didn't say women, it kind of confused me. That's why.
Right. So if you want to use that strategy that I just used in that problem, we could have said, okay, I need women, so I don't want this circle because those are the men. So all of the rest of the numbers are women. But then it said that you wanted those that agreed. Okay, and so that means that I have to pick the numbers that are inside the circle for those that agree. And that would mean only these 2 numbers are inside those circles for the ones that agreed. Okay, so again, either way that your brain, looks at it, because everybody's going to look at the picture differently. All right, now you have a couple problems where it asks you to create a Venn diagram from a survey. But it also gives you a general one, like, if it's not a survey, like this one in number 8. This one lists the cardinal number of each thing you're looking at, and I actually made my own video in Angel on a problem just like this. So I think it's best if you look at that video first. So if you go to Module 2, you will find, and it'll say video of number 8 in Math Excel or 2.5.27, okay? And then I also made a video of something like the last problem here. So same thing in Module 2. Go to video of, number 13 in Math Excel or 2.5.47. And so I'm very detailed, and I show you the Math Excel, and I'm writing out my results in the video. So it'd be very helpful for you guys to look at that video on your own, because we don't have enough time in class to do both of these problems. So But otherwise, you have homework from section 2.4 and 2.5. You also now have covered all the information from quiz 2. And so you want to get that, try to do as much homework as you can before you attempt the quiz, but also consider that you want to try to attempt the quiz more than one time, because most likely you're not going to get your best score on your first attempt, so it will give you time to review that. Questions? Or no? Okay, I answered the question. And then don't forget that you want to print the test review that's in Module 2, because it's going to tell you how many questions are coming from each section. It's going to tell you what you're allowed for the test. It's going to tell you, it's going to remind you of where to meet for the test. And yeah, I guess that's it. But you want to look at it before the day of the test so that you have an idea of what to expect.